All right. On behalf of Group 1, I am going to present to you Reputable Restrooms. Know what you're thinking? Does it slice? Does it dice? No, the answer to that question is no. And I can hear out there, you're thinking, well, if it doesn't do that, what on earth could it possibly do? Well, have you ever been out and been struck by that sudden call of nature? You need to find yourself a restroom? Well, our app will help you find the cleanest and the closest restroom to fit your needs. Next slide. Well, here we should have, there we go, introduction. My name is Charles Lovelace, and spent 2 years in the Marine Corps Reserve, 12 years active duty as a flight officer. My day job, I'm a training manager at Amazon. I'm currently in the Navy Reserve, closing in on 19 years of total service at the end of this year. So that's me in a nutshell. Over to you, Tim.
My name's Tim Hughes. I'm a full stack software engineer. I was in the United States Army, and I am happy to be here.
My name is Vincent Russo. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. I currently work as an electrical engineer, and I'm looking to go into software. Our other project member was Jordan Anderson, who's not here today. I believe he was in the Army for 6 to 8 years, airborne, and he's currently working as a full stack software engineer. Next slide. So going into the project scope and our goals, essentially what the minimal viable product was, we wanted to set out to develop an app that allows users to find nearby restrooms. We wanted an option for them to enter a location and find restrooms in the areas near them, have them display on Google Maps with pins, getting the longitude and latitude so that they could see where they are. We wanted there to be ways to review them and rate them, so you know what the quality is before you go to them. And we wanted people to be able to do their own reviews and to rate them themselves. We also wanted an account system to allow people to log in and create an account to access the main page. That being said, we're going to go through a demonstration of what the website ended up looking like. Over to you, Tim.
So upon navigating to Reputable Restrooms, the user will be prompted to create a profile. After the user creates a profile, they're prompted to log in. And the user will search for the location they're looking for a restroom. The API will respond with the closest restrooms to you. You click on a rating and click on a restroom, and you can see the rating and the most recent review, as well as the average rating for the reviews. On uploading a review, the review or the average rating will update. You can also go in and edit your review. And again, the rating will update. The Google Maps API automatically autofills. And back to you.
I can go back to PowerPoint. Thanks. So going into the tech that we used for collaboration and overall project design, for communication, we exclusively used Zoom and Slack. To actually create the project and write the code, we used Visual Studio Code. To host and manage the project files, we used GitHub, and hosting the website was done with AWS, Amazon Web Services. Next slide.
All right, so for the front end, we used React, Bootstrap, NPM, and Docker. Pretty good things to use, very good tools. And for languages, we elected to go with TypeScript primarily because it's versatile and allows us to have kind of a modern touch. We put things together, and then we were easily able to handle the pages with HTML and CSS for the styling. So in the long run, I think it saved us an awful lot of time. Next.
For the back end, Django was used to develop the models for the database. Postgres SQL was used for the actual database design, and we used Docker to containerize everything. And the languages we used was Python and SQL. Python being the language of Django. Django is a framework of Python, and SQL, which is SQL for Postgres, the database design. Next slide.
The third-party APIs that we used were the Google Maps API that Tim showed you, worked really well. And Xyla Labs and Refuge Restrooms helped us populate those lists of restrooms so that we could make the app actually work. So very good choices there. Next slide.
So some of the biggest challenges that we faced while making this product, I know for me, the major thing was working with TypeScript. I'd only done JavaScript in the past, and it's essentially the same exact thing. It's not dynamic variables, it's all statically typed. So I had to kind of learn a lot about TypeScript in order to use it. We had some issues with project management, working with GitHub, version control, all the merge in. We had 4 people working on this, so it was a bit challenging to keep it all together. And we had some issues with authentication. I didn't know too much about doing authentication for the front end. How do we protect routes that users can go to? So had to do some learning on that. Watch some videos, read some documentation. It all ended up coming together at the end. Next slide.
So future project goals, we're looking to add functionality to upload images. I think you could see there were images on the video. Those are kind of placeholders in the meanwhile. We're going to add a profile page for the users so they can update their information there. And then we also want to allow users to add restrooms to the database. I mean, understanding that some folks are going to add a lot of trees in the woods, but we want to get that in there so that if there's something that doesn't pop up on Google Maps that they found that's good, they can put it in. It would also allow us to cover stuff like, Porta Johns and stuff that are temporary. And then we want to create a mono repo and start building it in React Native so we can turn this into a mobile app. That's kind of our long-term goal. So the team is actually going to keep working on this sucker after we're done. So we enjoyed working together. We're going to keep doing it. And then we're going to convert the web app to a landing page where you can download the app once we've kind of got that fired off. So, and that is it. Thank you all very much for that. Appreciate you listening to our little presentation there. And open for questions.
I've got one. Y'all can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I like stretch goals and I like, hearing what you struggle with. What would you do differently if you had to start on this from scratch today? I threw away all your code and you had to build it again. How would you change your approach?
For me, I would say we would start with the back end before the front end. We initially started this by creating the front end and creating mock data with models that didn't accurately map to the back end. So there was a lot of work that had to be redone. And then I think we would have probably divide and conquered a little bit, where we would have been able to have a couple people working on the uploading reviews while a couple people worked on the uploading photos, because that's what we wanted for this project. But that's it for me. Vincent or Charles?
Tim pretty much said what I would say. For me, though, I think, yeah, the biggest thing would be how did we divide it up the project better? I think maybe thinking about who should do what better, and not really sure what I'm trying to say here. Delegation, delegate it better, essentially. Charles, if you have anything.
I don't really have a whole lot to add. I mean, I personally struggled a little bit with linking up the back end to the front end, kind of like digging through that. So a lot of learning had to happen. So I think a little bit of hindsight, I probably would have researched a little bit more into that, and maybe done a little bit more research into TypeScript on the, to kind of get me a little bit more up to speed on those linkages. So everything could be built with that in mind, rather than, as an after effect kind of a